What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 36 of the Half Price Concessions podcast as we sit down and chat with Chris Carter. Chris Carter's done a little bit of everything when it comes to racing, except for driving a race car. And I probably should have asked him about that during this interview, but Chris has not only been a longtime fan of the sport and supporter of the sport, he has been a PR guy, he's been an announcer, he has ran racetracks, and Chris has got some pretty awesome stories to tell as well. We break off on a couple of redneck stories from his life growing up down in Mississippi and just the journey that he has been on that took him from Pascagoula, Mississippi, up here to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. So sit back and relax. I know you are going to enjoy this one. Episode 36 of the Half Price Concessions podcast is coming up on the other side of this short break. This episode of the Half Price Concessions podcast is brought to you with support from Performance Center Racing Warehouse. In addition to being the home of the PRW chassis, Performance Center offers in-house setups and consulting, plus suspension and chassis pull-down analysis, along with their fabrication shop that can reclip your race car with the fastest turnaround in the industry. Give Roger Johnson and the Performance Center team the chance to earn your racing business by calling them today at 704-838-1400 or visit them online at performancecenter.com. That's PERFORMANCENTER.com. Got Chris Carter here with us this week on the Half Price Concessions podcast. CC, good to finally get you on this thing. I know there will not be any, space to fill in this episode. There ain't going to be no dead time at all. You got two people that announce races and all kinds of stuff, but it's just good to see you, brother. How you? I've been keeping up with you on Facebook.
You too,
You've been doing you did your hot dog stuff for a while, and you had a lot of success with that. I know you trying to get that back up and going, but it's good to see you. You are someone that needs to stay in public light. You could never be a hermit, could you?
There's no way. And Tyler, thank you for having me. I appreciate it a lot. It means a lot to me. But no, I like getting out and about and mingling with people.
One thing I have to get you on at first. If anyone goes on your Facebook page looking for Chris Carter, you'll see a good size old boy in a burgundy polo. That's got to be an Alabama polo. It says, "I'm not an announcer, I'm an entertainer." Now tell me, what is the genesis of that? A lot of people can announce races, but not a lot of people can entertain.
Well, first time I started announcing is at Mobile International Speedway, and I couldn't stand hearing the scores holler 3, 9, 8, 22 when they come across the line. You know, there was line scoring and stuff, and I couldn't stand hearing the race director talk, and it just kind of freaked me out. So I told, at the time it was Rick Crawford running the track, and I said, "Rick, I just can't sit in there. I want to go out here with the crowd. I want to go out here and I want to entertain. I want to get on a flag stand. I want to do just whatever normal announcers don't do." And after that, the rest is history. I like to get out there and entertain and dance a little bit and just entertain them people, man.
And it's not even put on a show. That's just who you are.
That's just how I roll.
Man, I tell you what, you could not have had introverted parents by any means. You had to be raised in an extroverted. It had to be coming out in you somehow. Have you always been like this, or did you kind of have to build up to it?
This is there's stories about me when I was a kid. You know, so that's how I am.
I got you. You got to announce at a lot of different places. I know if anybody watched on the Race Night at Bowman Gray Series on Discovery Channel, I don't know if they heard you, but they at least saw you when they would do those shots to the tower. Yeah. So you got to announce at Bowman Gray. What is that like, man? Because it's one thing to be on the track. It's another thing to be in the stands and doing, the people watching's half the fun. But what's it like being one of the announcers there?
Actually, it's an interesting story how that come about, Tyler. I was with Bubba and Cale, and actually, it's just me and Bubba, I do believe. When we was down there, he was selling the Load Pro machines and helping Timmy Solomito, and somebody told me that Bowman Gray was looking for an announcer, and I was like, well, I want this. So I wrote they wanted to send in a 30-second thing with you talking into the phone, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I really want this. This would be a really big deal for a guy from Pascagoula, Mississippi, up here at the most infamous racetrack in the country. I was like, man, I can only imagine how many people are going to be trying to do this. So I recorded my thing, sent it to Cale, sent it to Michael Adams, all these different people. You know, hey, what do y'all think of this? Tommy Neal listened to it, and I was like, yeah, go ahead, Chris, send it in. So I waited and I waited and I waited. Well, I didn't hear nothing. The Thursday before that Saturday night to race, the PR guy called me and said, hey, man, can you announce for us? I said, when?
Yeah.
He said, y'all racing Saturday night. So we're going to need you Saturday night. And I said, well, this something what's up with this, you know? And he said, well, we really liked it. It was between you and another guy, and we picked the other guy, but the other guy just backed out on us at the last minute, so we're going with you. You go with that? And I said, well, heck yeah, I'm good with that. I am. But, you know, the first night there, and the first time I got on the track, Robert told me it was for the stadium stocks. And you get down there, and there's 17,000 people, you know, in the stands, and you're on that track, and you look around. That's a big deal.
Oh yeah.
That's you know, that's a big deal. It's a big deal to me. That's the most people I've ever announced in front of. I used to announce some for Cowboy Kenny Bartram with the freestyle motocross, and one time Atlanta Motor Speedway was 10,000 people. I thought that was a big deal, but it was. I'm thankful and grateful and blessed to have that opportunity. And you know, I had an incident and was in that coma, and that kind of ruined that. But it was definitely a proud few months for me at Bowman Gray.
You can. I've always heard people say it's an energy you can feel. Did you feel that?
Yeah, especially when I was trying to run my fat butt halfway across that football field and say, "Hey, can you hear me?" And then run my fat butt on the other side of the football. Can you? So you know, but yeah, that's what I was just asking about 311 announcing. You know, without a crowd there.
Yeah.
You know, I have to feed off that crowd. I want to talk to them. I want to get feedback, and that's you know how I do it. Now, you know. You're up there with the totally different way of announcing, and that's why when me and you were at Ace, that's why I enjoyed it so much. You got this redneck from Pascagoula and Tyler over here at 6'5", like a WWE wrestler.
I'm about to say we definitely had the size covered for sure.
Yeah, but there's another interesting thing about the Bowman Gray thing. When I recorded that, like I said, was at Speed Weeks at New Smyrna, and you could hear the super late models was in the background.
While you recorded?
While I recorded. And I did not mean to do that at all. But,
yeah.
You know, if someone's like, man, that's pretty neat. But, yeah, I mean, I've announced at Orange County, Hickory. Like I said, Mobile Speedway is where I started out at. And, you know, I managed the track in Mobile as far as legends and stuff go and announced there. Being the track promoter and the manager and announcer was really awesome.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that a lot. But, like I said, I'm blessed to announce at the tracks. And, you know, I want to do it again. After my coma, I was, you know, Miss Renee let me come back to Caraway. And I just didn't have that confidence, Tyler. They're 3 wide going into 1. I see them going into 1, but it comes out of my mouth when they're coming out of turn 4.
Yeah.
So that you know, and I was really, my confidence level went way, way down.
Yeah. And
so, you know, I just maybe I can't do this no more. I mean, I didn't really. So at the end of the day, I decided that I'll just give it up for now.
Yeah.
And but now I've got that itch, and I really, really hope someone listening out there might need some.
Hey, there's definitely going to be a need for people on the pay-per-view stuff. You know, without no fans there, you have to be able to kind of get by on the TV stuff. And I'll tell you, I don't know how much TV you've dabbled in, but it's a whole different other kind of feel, because like you said, normally you can see people and you can play the games with them where you ask them, you know, who brought your wife, who brought your girlfriend, now who brought both, or you can play games with them. You can't really do that when it's the TV screen. So
yeah.
if you get to do some pay-per-view stuff, I'm gonna pay twice just to hear you go through it, and I'll be like, buddy, welcome in. I've had to learn too.
I think the creativity of announcing without a crowd is just how me or you, what we put on our mind, how are we going to do this? You still got to be entertaining to those fans. But at the same time, that's where you got to separate the entertainment from being, you know, giving the information that the fans need. I've always said, Tyler, no matter how many times me or you or any other announcer goes to a racetrack, there's always someone there that's never been.
Yep.
So it's up to me and you and to let them know, why is that race car going down the front straightaway? They think the car's something's bad wrong with it, and you got to explain it. You know, the ignition box, retarding the timing, and all that. So I think being informative as well as entertaining is a big part of what we do.
Before we dive too much into your past, because we're about to head in that direction, but just from everything you've been around, just that I know off the cuff, I mean, you've been around so many different kinds of racing. You've been all the way up to what I still call the Busch Series of NASCAR, with being Cale Gale's PR, the Truck Series, your local racing, Bowman Gray, super late models, the dirt stuff. I mean, I don't venture to say there's a form of racing you haven't in some way either been a fan of or been involved in, is it?
Well, I mean,
have you done drag racing?
No, I was asked to. Actually, Mobile National Speedway, Miss Ida Fields on Mobile Speedway and Mobile National Dragway. They're right next to each other. I mean, right there. And Gary Moore has asked me to announce it, but my knowledge of it's just not. I felt like I couldn't provide what would be needed for those fans that come for the first time, even at a drag strip. I just didn't feel confident. But it all started, like I said, at 8 years old. My uncle sponsored a car and took me to the racetrack, and that was in 1974.
Man, you're old. I'm kidding.
I was hoping that we wouldn't have to get into all that. But,
that's all right.
Yeah, but I mean, it's. I've been involved ever since then. I was hooked. I've become a David Pearson fan, my first real hero driver, and well, that's how it all started. 8
years old. So now, who was some of the local talent that you started to latch on to?
But back then, Red Farmer, Bobby Donnie.
Red's still doing it too, I think.
Yeah,
he ain't stopped yet.
He's still wheeling one at Talladega Short Track, and there was a local driver named Rat Lane in Stewart, England. Those were some of my first, heroes at the Mobile National Speedway, which is, Mobile National Speedway, and everybody knows about the Snowball Derby, and at Five Flags. So those were some of my early heroes. Wayne Nedecker Jr., of course.
It sounds like you kind of grew up down there, and was it super late model country back then, like it is kind of now?
Yeah,
because that belt line kind of feels like that's all, as far as asphalt racing, it's all supers.
It is pretty much. Back then it was, but it was just called, like when Bubba Gale was racing, and it was late models. There wasn't a super or a pro added to that. It was just a late model. So, and then as time progressed, as you know, they become the pro late model and crate late model and a super late model, and so, but yeah.
Gotcha. Now, did you get to go to any dirt races as a kid, or did that come kind of later?
That came later. That definitely came later. But I did have the honor and privilege of being an announcer at Deep South Speedway, which is in Loxley, big half-mile dirt track. So, I've tinkered with that, and I've actually done some PR for a few dirt drivers. So,
okay, that's a whole different animal. Ain't
it is, and I love dirt. I mean, I'm an asphalt guy, of course, and but man, dirt racing is just the entertainment value of on the dirt and the car sideways and the turns. To me, I love it. I love dirt racing big time.
I feel like people get into racing for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes it's they like the competition. Sometimes it's a fascination just with cars or mechanical fascination in general. And sometimes they just latch on to people and they follow that person. That person could have been a softball player and they followed them, but it just happened to be racing. If you had to kind of float yourself into a category as far as like as a fan in your early years, did you kind of fall in any of those, or was it kind of just all together? I know that's a tough one. That's a deep hole.
Really, it's not, but because at a young age, it was just the fascination of a race car going fast, and But as you got older, and then you started getting involved, the time, the money, the effort, the dedication, staying out to the shop to 10, 11 o'clock, and the mom and everything's doing this and that. So, I guess that's the part of it that really intrigued me.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, I'm not going to be a race car driver, and I said, well, you know what? I'm going to try this PR stuff. I didn't even know what PR stood for. You know, I didn't. People reasoning. I didn't know, but and then that's just kind of the gist of that. And it just went from there.
Gotcha. Now I do have to ask you. You grew up in Mississippi, and you said you're a country boy.
Kinda.
Now nowadays I call them bubblegum rednecks. Sometimes you got people that say they're country, but they live in a suburb. What was your life like growing up in Mississippi?
Well, I'm not far from New Orleans. That right there,
that tells me a lot.
Right when you can get in your car and you're bored, you're like, "What are we gonna do tonight, guys? Well, let's just ride over to the Big Easy and have a good time." So that there you go with that. And Biloxi is only 20 minutes away, and it's a lot of beaches and Pensacola and Mobile, so you're kind of in that center spot. But growing up, it was we liked to catch alligators. We did stuff that most normal people, I guess, up here. When I tell the stories about the alligators and stuff, people just look at me crazy and they tilt their head like a little puppy. It's like, what do you mean you caught alligators? But yeah, it was pretty unique. I'm very proud of my hometown, and it's This is my home now, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. This is what I call home, but back home will always be a special place in my heart.
I'd say, because now we have to hit on the text message. You and I were texting yesterday about me coming down here today. Can we talk about catching alligators and my pet diamondback rattlesnake? Of course we're going to talk about it. We'll start with the alligator, because now the only thing I know about alligators as far as catching is the swamp people show on History Channel where they're shooting them and killing them to trade in the hides for money, and that's how they make a living. You said pet alligators, or catching alligators. How in God's name and why in God's name were you doing that?
We were doing that way before there's anything such as swamp people and this and that. And back home, there's a big old alligator farm. Well, they have airboat rides, and that big airboat the gate would lift down. And then out in this little pond, we'd have to sneak our little 12-foot aluminum boat down through there. And you could hear that airboat crank up, so you could always go behind the train trestle and hide. But we'd go there with our 5-aught pin reels and a couple of big 3-ounce lead weights and 4 or 5 treble hooks, and you'd see them alligators up on that water, and you just throw the line over them, and you really, you hook that sucker, and that 12-foot boat.
And you're sitting there wrestling with the alligator on the line.
Well, you're catching them on the line, and of course, they do the death roll and everything, but they'll pull that 12-foot aluminum boat for a good 10 minutes. I mean, it's a ride right there, and then they roll. Once they do their death roll and everything, they're pretty dormant, and you just put them in the boat, zip tie those legs, and tape that mouth, and then go back up to the thing, and we'll put one in the back of the truck, and then we'll catch 3 or 4 and go to town and just ride around showing off our alligators. But that definitely was it was good entertainment. It was harmless. You can't catch the alligators. No alligators were hurt. We didn't kill them, and a lot of times we took them right back to where we got them from and let them go. So, but cheap, good, wholesome entertainment.
Hey, I'm about to say it beats smoking crack. For sure.
Yes, definitely.
But now here comes the other part. As if, I tell you what, the guy
Speaking of the drag strip.
the guy out here beside us at H&H is getting on it on his motorcycle. Now I have to get you on this pet diamondback rattlesnake. Diamondbacks are got to be one of the most deadliest forms of snakes in the world. And you had it as a pet. Why, Chris? Was the alligator not dangerous enough? Did you have an abundance of diamondbacks near you?
I had a roommate that was yes, definitely. They're down there big time. I had a friend that was my roommate actually, and he was a former game warden. This dude was like the crocodile hunter or whatever. He could look at bark on a tree and tell you that tree's 6,352 years. This dude just knew everything about plants, animals, and everything. So we were up in Stone County, which is north of us on the coast, and he caught a little baby diamondback rattlesnake, and of course he was drinking beer, and he put that snake was so little he put it in that beer bottle. I said, "What are you doing?" So we're gonna take this snake home, and we're gonna have this as our new pet. Said, okay. So we're gonna just fast forward a little bit, and I named the snake Speedy, and Speedy he started growing and everything. Next thing I know, Speedy's freaking 5 foot, 10 rattlers.
What are you feeding this thing?
Rats.
Okay.
So you got to
go catch the rat now.
Oh yeah, it'd be a show. You hold that rat up by its tail and you dangle it on in front of that cage, and that snake. I mean, it was definitely something fascinating to watch. Well, actually, I think the year was 2003. Cale was the first person to win the late model track championship as a rookie. His dad didn't even do it. That was a big deal. One Sunday we went to have this way to go Cale Gale party and stuff like that, and I got back home and there was probably 10 people there, and they were all on a Sunday drinking vodka. I mean, who does this? So everybody's like, Otis worked offshore at the time. He was going to be leaving the next day, and we had a routine. I hold the pillowcase, and he gets the snake, holds his head down and puts him in the pillowcase. I tie it and clean the cage. Okay, so one day, Carter, I'm going to clean the cage. I need you know what to do. I said, no, Otis, we ain't cleaning the cage. We'll wait till you come back after you next time. He said, I'm telling you, Carter, it's bad. We got to clean it. So, okay. So I unlock the cage. I lift the lid, and he takes his little stick, and you know where I'm going with this, right?
I got a feeling I do, but please spell it out.
So somebody said his name, and he looked, and I said, oh, my Lord, and that stick slipped off. And Tyler, that Eastern diamondback rattlesnake can control the amount of venom he releases, and we kind of tortured that snake. Beating on the glass, making him bite the glass, and the venom run down the glass. So the snake, I always said, if he ever bites one of us, we're done.
You're done for, yeah.
He mainlined right there. Well, of course, y'all can't see.
Yeah, he's pointing at his wrist right below his palm. When Otis looked at me and said, "Carter, he got me." I said, "Yeah." Yeah, and this is how he knew he was going to get bit. He said, "You know what to do." There was a number for people who has antivenom in Jackson, Mississippi. So I was like, yeah, well, right now I ain't worried about somebody in Jackson, Mississippi and antivenom. You just got bit by a rattlesnake. And then he started getting woozy, and we put him in the back of the truck and made our way to Singing River Hospital. And when you go to the hospital and your friend's in the back of the truck, and at this point, hey, can I talk like that? Exactly, you couldn't understand. He's just swelling up.
Yeah, and it was really weird, and I'm going into panic mode, imagine that. And I go to the hospital. I'm like, my friend's been bit by Eastern diamondback rattlesnake. I need y'all. I need somebody to come get him. Well, sir. Well, how do you know it's an Eastern diamondback rattlesnake? Well, you idiot. It's my snake. Well, wait a minute. What do you mean it's your snake? So you can imagine the confusion. Meanwhile, Otis is in the back of the truck about to die. So and then a couple of people that knew me was like, "Yeah, Chris Carter's got an Eastern diamondback rattlesnake. If y'all ain't heard about it, you're under a cave." So under a rock in a cave. So anyway, so he. Yeah, it was definitely I was interviewed by the news from Mobile, Alabama, Pensacola, Florida, New Orleans, Birmingham. Mm-hmm. It was definitely, it was a big spotlight moment. But Otis lived. He's fine. And
that's a miracle in itself there.
Yeah, that's, I don't know how he survived it, but he did. I guess the good Lord was looking after him.
Eastern diamondback rattlesnake.
Speedy, here's something else.
Now, was that your last pet diamondback rattlesnake, or did you have some more?
You know what else, though? What was weird is we needed that snake. Now, here's the killer to this. We needed it for the antivenom, especially with him being so big, and it could possibly save other lives. My neighbor decided, because we had him out back, my neighbor, news travels fast.
It sure does.
My neighbor went up there and blasted Speedy away in my cage and shot him. So, yeah, that's definitely kind of upset me about that, but that's the story of Speedy.
Speedy was quick to bite for sure.
Yeah,
y'all made him mad enough. He probably would have done it anyway.
Yeah.
But wow. So you said one name in that story that is actually how I came to know you, was your work with the Gale family and with Cale Gale. That was where I kind of always saw you on Facebook posts and stuff like that, or anything was with Cale. And most people probably remember him as, if you remember the guy that always seemed to drive a ream truck or a ream car or stuff like that, dark-headed kid from Alabama, Cale Gale. Tell me how that relationship even started with that family.
Well, Bubba Gale Bubba Gale won 4 track championships at Mobile in a row. And, that's hard to do at any level, whether it's at Cup or down at Mobile Speedway or Bowman Gray. That's, like Tim Brown and him and Burt Myers, those 10 championships. And I know what all went in a row, but still, just that's just something. And I was a big Bubba Gale fan, and it was Bubba Gale was about like Cale was growing up. It's either you loved him or hated him. Give him hell, Cale Gale, or go to hell, Cale. You know what I'm saying? It's the same way with Bubba. So that's pretty much how all that started. And like I said, I didn't know nothing about PR, but I knew what I seen with Cale, at such a young age and coming up and everything. And a lot of people, well, you grabbed his coattail. Yeah, I grabbed it. I sure did. And he let me grab it. And that's the good part about it. And I've never let go. And to this day, he means the world to me. The whole family does. And if it wasn't for Cale Gale and him allowing me to be a part of his career, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now. I wouldn't be up here in Winston-Salem. I wouldn't, if I had to write a book, Cale would be probably, if it was 12 chapters, he'd be 7 of them, a part of, such a big part of what I've done. And he allowed me, like I said, to be a part of it. And so, and as you know, Tyler, the kid, he's just, not only is he one heck of a wheelman, and in my eyes, the best driver on the planet, but, his personality, his character, and the way he conducts himself and his manners is just, he's a top-notch class act. I mean, he's, and the limb didn't fall far from the tree as far as his dad goes, Miss Tracy and the whole family. It's just, I feel I'm a part of that family, and I'm blessed for that.
You can speak to this a little better just because you know him so well. Cale to me seemed like, even just from fanhood side, before I got to know him a little bit better professionally, he seemed like one of those guys that was a victim of having talent but not having the checkbook. to be able to continue to secure rides. To me, from the outside, it seemed like that. Was that kind of the case? Because it seemed like, there's that great clip they always show of him going side by side with Kyle Busch at Homestead, and he does what he needs to do, nothing dirty, just racing, and he beats Kyle Busch, and that's an incredible in itself. That's what it kind of seemed like to me, was like the talent was there, but he didn't have the money that others had. Was that the case?
Yeah, I mean, and when Cale when he outrun Kyle Busch, in my opinion, I was like, well, here we go. This is what this kid needed right here. And it was really weird how nothing really materialized much after that.
Because it's a great highlight.
It's when you outrun the best of the best, and this is not. I don't like to split hairs with people on their driver if they like a driver, but as far as talent, whether you like him or not, Kyle Busch is one of the best right now to this day. And for Cale to do, after sitting at a red flag and then doing a green-white checker like that, you couldn't have scripted that out better. And I was like, well, this is what my little buddy's been looking for. But it never happened. I feel like if Cale would, been millionaires, or somebody would have just, hey, I got you, we'd probably be getting ready to go to Darlington this weekend. I mean, I just feel that in my heart. I mean, Cale proved with the amount of seat time that he had at that upper level, how good of a driver he was. There was people, week in, week out in that Busch car, nationwide too, at the time. And it was amazing how Cale would do what he would do in these cars. And look, he sat on the pole at Bristol, finished third or fourth. I think it was fourth. But I mean, he showed, and that was in Kevin Harvick's car, and and here's the thing about it, Tyler. He's happy now. I mean, does he want to be driving a race car? Yeah, there's no doubt that's what he's always done. But he never beat his head up against the wall about it. He's told me before, Carter, what else? I've done what I set out to do, whether it's a truck, Xfinity, or a Cup race. He won his NASCAR big race team.
Yeah.
And he's content with that. I feel that in my heart, that he's done pretty much what he set out to do. So that's And as long as he's happy, I'm happy.
Hey, it's still a treat. It's still a treat when you get to see him race at any kind of level. So you went through all that with them and got to enjoy that ride and whatnot. Tell me a little bit about the accident you had, because you had a period of time where it kind of, to honestly, from my side, because I didn't know better, like it seemed like you just fell off the face of the earth. I was like, where'd this guy go? This guy used to post on Facebook 8 times a day or share something crazy, and you kind of went away for a while, and I was like, I don't know what happened to Chris Carter. Fill me in on what happened to you with your ordeal.
It was I don't know. I mean, you could wrong place, wrong time, or whatever. It definitely was life changing. There was several. The doctor was wondered if my friends was like you might want to call before you come up here.
Yeah, you'd gone into a coma.
Yeah, and what's funny? Speaking of Cale, the one little thing I can remember about coming to was him being in that room, and it was like, Carter? I was like, huh? What are you doing here? I was confused and stuff, but after I kind of hear what's happened and where I'm at and what's going on, and I got this bandage on my head, and they cut me from ear to ear, and I had to learn how to chew and swallow, and my walking was a little bit off, but the good Lord has some type of plan for me. I mean, I believe in my heart that it's not our way, it's His way, and I feel like I have memory issues, a lot of stuff that I'll put something down, and I mean everybody, well, I do that, but I used to not do that. There's stuff that I used to not do before the coma, and that I do now. It's just like, man, okay, you got to remember you slept for a while, so and I had to readjust, but go back to the announcing thing. I mean, I sat in the tower at Caraway and cried. I mean, real tears. I was just I've worked so hard to do this, and it's what I love. So now what? Now what am I going to do? And a whole year went by before I even really said, you know what? And what I'd do is I'd go watch old YouTube races and sit there, and I'd look in the mirror and announce and act like there was a crowd there. And, and I said, you know what? Chris Carter, you can do this. You can do this again. So that was definitely a eye opener for me, and it makes you really realize that, at any split second, your life can just totally take an about face. So at least I'm blessed to be alive to talk about it.
I was about to say, it's definitely a good testimony for anybody out there. And I'm sure not a lot of people have gone through something like that. So you have an experience that a lot of people don't have to share. Because you could have easily just drifted away where you were in that hospital room, and we'd have been going to your wake.
The doctor said I was as close to dying without dying as a human could come.
Yeah.
So that when the doctor told me that, and that kind of put everything into perspective for me, and that is when you get down on your knees and you thank the good Lord in heaven, God, I don't know what your plan is for me. Only you know that, but definitely for me to be able to survive. And that's not my first incident. The two, this scar here that I've been, that's crushed eye socket, broken jaw. That was years ago. I mean, I'm
You're here for a reason.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
Well, besides being an announcer, entertainer, everything with Cale Gale that you did and stuff, I know you're as ardent as a race fan as any, and I know you're a big Bubba Pollard fan. Tell me, what is it about Bubba?
Oh, BP. Yeah, I mean,
because you got pictures with him that help remind us how short you are. Because Bubba's a good sized old boy. The camera's got to pan down to get your face. But you're a pretty big fan of his, ain't you?
Well, being Bubba, once again, I consider Bubba a very, very good friend of mine, man. I've done some PR for Bubba. I've written some press releases for him and stuff. And, I've got the honor of knowing not just Bubba. It's just like Cale and Bubba Gale. It's Bubba Pollard and his dad, Sonny, and his sister, Andrea, the whole family and that team, that's such a special relationship. And they're such good people. Their work ethic, their drive for wanting to win races, and the amount of time that they put in, just like anybody else, but it's many years ago with my involvement. Actually, I was the PR guy at Mobile National Speedway when I first met Bubba Pollard, and we just got to be very good friends. And anytime he was around or whatever, and I've been to a few races with him, and I had the honor of going to Victory Lane several times with Bubba Pollard. So that one, class act, man. He's just, a lot of people see these drivers with the helmets on, and they don't have no idea. All they see is him as a driver, and Bubba treats you how you treat him. If you want to rough him up, well, you're going to get roughed back up. If you want to flip him off, well, you might get punched in the face. I mean, it's just, it's, and I shouldn't have said that, not punched in the face. You'll get flipped back off. I mean, he did go after somebody not long ago. Yeah. But, I mean, you dish it out to him, you better get ready to take it back. That's how Bubba, but once again, class act, very good friend, and one heck of a wheelman.
Yep, this is hard. You can't argue the talent. You cannot argue the talent.
Right.
But, I mean, it kind of right in your wheelhouse again because he comes from Georgia and he runs those cars, what we call now supers now, but kind of in that kind of region down there. Whereas, like, we're up here in North Carolina and Virginia, we're kind of late model stock heavy, and we call those supers, where the rest of y'all in the rest of the country just call that a late model.
Right.
So it's kind of right in your alley anyway as far as the kind of cars like Cale and all them ran.
The only problem with Bubba Pollard that I have is when he wears that Georgia shirt and that Georgia hat. Other than that,
Now, why is that?
Roll Tide, Alabama fan. I said diehard Alabama fan. It's all about Alabama football. The heck with Georgia, LSU, and all that other stuff. Other than that, Bubba's great, man.
Well, you're from Mississippi. You weren't an Ole Miss fan?
I can't stand Ole Miss. Don't even, man. I am. I ain't a hater, but I very much dislike Ole Miss. But actually, I was born in Mobile. I'm an adopted child.
Oh, okay.
So I was born in Mobile, Alabama, and then I went to Pascagoula right after I was born. So yeah,
they took you against your will across the state line. You should have stayed in Alabama.
I was very upset about that. So, but I'm a big Alabama fan.
All right. So what draws more hate, Mississippi or Auburn? You're an Alabama fan.
You know what? Most 90% of all Alabama fans just despise and hate Auburn. I'm not that guy, and I don't. If they're SEC, I kind of cheer for them, but it's. Alabama fans, pretty much, it's probably split between Ole Miss, LSU, or Auburn.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
You know what? I can respect you as an Alabama fan because I know you were probably there during the Mike Price years, the Mike DeBose years.
That was terrible.
Whoever that other guy was, I think it was Shula. I think it was Shula's son.
Mike Shula.
Didn't go very well at all. You were not a Nick Saban bandwagoner. You've been there for a while.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama football's been winning championships way before Nick Saban came along, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, y'all didn't have Nick Saban," but whatever. They've been winning and they'll continue to win when he's gone. So,
yep.
they'll probably just grab Dabo Swinney from Clemson and let him come on where he used to play at. So
there you go. Just throw $30 million at him. Here's one thing I want to get you on. So, because of the kind of racing that we get to go to in person, like, Bowman Grays and Aces and Caraways, and then the super late model shows you get to go to and stuff, it seems to me like it used to be you worked your way up, and at the cup level, they were going down and getting guys based on talent, and they would just go find money. Now that business model changed, and it's whoever's got the money kind of gets sped up a little bit. Not that it's impossible to get there on talent, but it's a lot harder than it used to be. And it seems like now a lot more guys kind of, I don't want to say accept it, but it kind of just, they quit trying to go get to that Cup Series. And now we as fans put them on more of a pedestal a little bit because we know this is the highest level they're going to get to. And we just accept that and we go and endorse that. Kind of like Bubba Pollard. Like a guy on him or like a Casey Roderick or any of those guys that run supers on talent alone should be in Cup, but aren't going to get there because they don't have the paycheck. Does that, in your eyes, are you kind of following me where we say, like, this is why we have to support short track racing because these guys don't have the deep pocket to go up any higher? We have to support where they are?
Yeah, definitely. The whole scenario as you painted just then I have a bad taste in my mouth about that because of Cale. Why on God's green earth wouldn't somebody pick this kid up? Oh, he don't have money. Well, but he can drive. You're the money guy. Yes, your team. You have the money. Why can't this kid be a part of that team? And there's so many other drivers like you just named a few that didn't get at that level. So definitely it's up to us as the fans to support. And this is where they're at. Bubba Pollard. Maybe he might get a few truck ride here and there or something next year or whatever. But or this year, but. At the end of the day, I just the way this is materialized from the way it used to be when drivers did get to that level on talent to where we're at now, and you got, like look at Timmy Hill. I mean, you take Timmy Hill. Oh, he only won an I race, Chris, but you know what? The man can drive a race car. You put him in some good equipment, and I'm not bashing him for what they have. That man takes a green flag on Sundays with the Cup team, so that's just pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But I just think it's pretty much out of control the way that's come. But so yes, it is up to us to support our local tracks. And speaking of, I mean, we need to kudos to Jason Turner and A Speedway and what they're doing there. We kind of talked about that before we come on the air here, and that's where me and you announced together the first time. I mean, that was I enjoyed that, but I'm happy to see some of these tracks. Getting back to racing. I hope all this goes away. I don't think it is anytime soon, but, watching a race and stuff like that on TV without fans is weird. I'm a big wrestling fan. The first time I watched the SummerSlam or whatever it was earlier.
The paper, was it WrestleMania? Yeah.
I was like, this is weird. But once again, those wrestlers have to do just like those drivers do. They got to go out, and it's up to their job to entertain us as fans. And I also think that this is a chance for NASCAR to get new fans. And they've got creative people in the right places, but what kind of they couldn't ask for a better scenario. I hate it for Kyle Larson. What he did was wrong. We all make mistakes. You fall down, you get up. I hope the man gets to race again. I'm totally against what he did. That's not acceptable.
Okay? He ran a sprint car at Iowa.
Finished 9th or 10th, I think it was.
He was a KC hard charger.
So, but at the end of the day, it's like Matt Kenseth here. He's been out of racing all this time, and now here he is. Hadn't driven a Cup car in 2 years now?
Something like that, yeah.
And a new package, new aero package, new everything, new this. He's going to start somewhere in the top. We'll find it. Well, now they've already drawn. They was drawn at 6 o'clock. So he's going to be in the top 12. And here he is without no practice or anything. He's going to barrel off into turn 1 at Darlington. The whole scenario. It's a good platform for NASCAR. And it's up to those drivers, and they know a lot of people that don't normally watch a race is going to be watching them this Sunday. So I think it's up to the drivers, the crew chiefs, and all that to really realize, I know they give 100% every time, but
it's a big opportunity.
Let's don't mess this up, guys.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I can't let you get out of here without telling me another country boy story. So we've heard about catching alligators, parading them around like a trophy. having a pet rattlesnake, getting bit by said rattlesnake, and having said rattlesnake blown to smithereens and met its maker. There's got to be one more story you can share with me. Give me something that's just outlandish and crazy that my grandma can still listen to who listens to this podcast. Give me something.
I'm right there on the Gulf of Mexico. Like I said, I mean, I can leave my house and be on Beach Boulevard in 2 minutes back home. And we went out deep at the oil rigs. And
I thought you couldn't get close to those.
Shit, you tie up on them, man. You tie up on them and fish. And a lot of times we like to climb up the oil rig and dive off.
That sounds illegal, too.
It probably is. So one day I went up the oil rig and I climbed up there and I was going to be Mr. Cool. And I was like, we're leaving. No, you ain't. We're leaving. No, you ain't. And they crank up the boat and I'm up on that oil rig and I dive off that oil rig. I'm probably, 15, 20 feet up in the air. I go under and I come up and by golly, they're gone. They took off.
Oh, they left you in the ocean.
They went around the other side of the rig and they was probably going 15 or so. But I tell you what, I couldn't see the boat no more. And I started panicking,
Yeah.
But that was kind of, that ain't real funny, but at the time it wasn't funny, but it's a weird feeling. You're out there, 15 miles out in the Gulf of Mexico and
you just got.
You don't know what's under that water, and when you do see sharks out there. I encounter a rattlesnake, but a shark, that's a whole new different ball game right there. So
no.
But yeah, we could sit here and talk all day about that kind of stuff. But I'm blessed. I fell down several times in my life, and I've had to get back up. And that's the good part about this story is, you fall down. If you fall down, you stay down, then shame on you.
Yeah.
You fall down and you get up and try to live your best life and. God's plan, it's not our plan. And at the end of the day, if my recovery and, being in the hospital, and I'm not embarrassed or ashamed to say, the pain pills got me at one time, but I took my butt, to Van Cleve, Mississippi to the Home of Grace, a 3-month Christian-based rehab. And so, everything kind of comes back full circle. And, if anybody's struggling or anything and they think it's the end of the world, it's not. You just got to realize that there's better things ahead. And that's all. You lean on the good Lord upstairs, and He'll provide the path for us.
Even when you're dumb enough to jump off an oil rig in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico.
He has spared me. He created me. I think when He created me, He said, "Well, this is going to be a handful."
Yep. Well, brother, it's good to see you. Appreciate you sharing some. And I got a feeling we're going to need to come back for rounds 2 and 3.
I'd love it. I really appreciate you coming and doing this. And like I said, anybody need an announcer, I'm ready and available.
You can find Chris Carter on Facebook. He's not hard to find. If you need to find him, message me. I'll give you his cell phone number.
There you go.
But I appreciate you, brother.
All right, Tyler. Thank you, buddy.
All right. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Half Price Concessions podcast. Special thanks to Chris Carter for taking the time to sit down and talk to us and help make this episode possible. Do us a quick favor. Be sure to hit the subscribe button if you're listening to this podcast on an app like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, or Stitcher. Hit the subscribe button. If there's a section for you to leave us a rating and review, please do so. That would really help us out a ton. Also, if you're listening to us on our YouTube page, hit the subscribe button and hit the like button. Leave us a comment if you'd like. We'd love to hear from you. Also, you can find these episodes on our website, www.anchor.fm/HPC podcast. So if you want to listen, but you don't want to pull out the podcast app or you don't want to listen on YouTube, you can always listen to the episodes from our website. Thank you again for listening. My name is Tyler Williams, and I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you have a great day. And also, if you have suggestions or ideas for future episodes, people that you know that have a great story to tell when it comes to racing, be sure to email us at halfpricedconcessionspodcast@gmail.com.